Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a lot going on in Singapore these days. So I'm really excited that you give me a few minutes of your attention for a talk about Onchain FX. I think here at Stablecoin Summit, first of all, thanks for having me. Stablecoin Summit team does always an amazing job in organizing these events. And here at Stablecoin Summit, you probably heard a lot about how stablecoins found product market fit, how stablecoins are increasing in adoption, are growing like crazy, how for the first time last year, stablecoins actually have done or seen more transaction than Visa and MasterCard together. So stablecoins are a great use case for Web3 technology. And stablecoins can be used for so many interesting things, for payments, for lending, for borrowing, for remittances. So I think it's great technology that has found great use cases. And one of these use cases I actually want to dive a bit deeper in today. One of these use cases I have in mind, which has, from my perspective, huge potential for Web3 in this industry, is actually FX, foreign exchange, or the market for currencies. The market for currencies is actually the largest market, by far the largest market in the world. Bank for International Settlements estimates that there's $7.5 trillion in trading volume every day in the FX markets, and therefore it's a market with huge potential. And if you compare this volume in the FX market to other asset classes, you can see, while yes, stablecoins by now actually have very high daily trading volume, and also Bitcoin has very high daily trading volume, and for comparison, also Visa and MasterCard actually do a lot of daily transactions. There's an asset class that is much bigger in terms of volume, and this is in the end the foreign exchange market. As I mentioned, $7 to $7.5 trillion in average trading volume every day, and around a third of that, or a bit less than a third of that, is actually the spot FX market, which is $2 to $2.5 trillion in trading. So it's a huge market. And in addition, it's really interesting to see that some currencies are actually getting more volatile. So for example, this year, the dollar has lost around 20 to 25% in value against a basket of G7 currencies. So you can actually see also this year, the dollar is becoming more volatile. So there is a use case, not only for trading, but actually for many different other, purposes, why on-chain FX actually should be enabled. With Mento, we are the place for on-chain FX. We want to bring this market on-chain because we think today's FX markets actually have a wide array of challenges. One challenge is actually settlement. Even though FX is the largest market in the world, it is not 24/7. It's maybe 24/5, a bit more than that. And it actually doesn't have global settlement systems. There's, for example, CLS, the continuous linked system, for a settlement for global FX players to settle their transactions. However, the system basically works under T+2 settlement, and it is put in place to get rid of a risk that is called after a German bank. I'm from Germany. This bank is called Herstatt. The Herstatt risk is actually the risk that in a T+2 settlement trade, one party is actually going bankrupt. So you send one currency, but you don't get the other one back. So that is really, really complicated. But the nice thing is, with Web3 infrastructure, with stablecoins, we can actually get rid of this very expensive CLS settlement system because we can have instant settlement. We can also have actually smart contracts that do settlement for you, that ensure that if someone sends one currency, the other one also sends the currency, and that the trade is executed. So Web3 actually has a lot of potential for FX. DeFi is also not set up for FX. AMMs don't work for FX. AMMs, automated market makers, the price of an asset in these types of pools is determined by the relationship of the two assets in these pools in terms of amount to each other. So AMMs are not good in mirroring off-chain prices. Therefore, to bring FX on-chain, we need a different setup. And this is what Mento is trying to build for this industry and is building for this industry. Mento has new types of markets that are called FPMMs, fixed price market makers, that basically mirror with a wider range of oracles off-chain prices, bring them on-chain and allow users to swap currencies directly on-chain. With these FPMMs, Mento currently is doing around 100 million in volume every day. So we can already see today that on-chain FX is happening, that more and more users actually engage with on-chain FX. And we see like these 100 million in volume a day that we are doing, this is just an average. We see that there are days when the dollar becomes extremely volatile, where there's even higher volume, when basically the dollar earlier this year had like a few weeks where it was extremely volatile, that volume was 5-fold, 10-fold, and so on. So on-chain FX is already starting to happen, and I think it's an amazing use case for Web3. I mentioned the $7.5 trillion in daily trading volume, and I also mentioned that a part of that, around $2 trillion a day, is actually spot volume. A part of that is actually spot market volume by non-banks and non-financial institutions. Especially that part of the market is especially interesting to bring on-chain, because these are institutions that sit like in many, many different countries where there maybe is no direct access to the institutional FX market, and here we can actually use this technology to make this accessible to everyone. With Mento, we are powering currently 15 currencies, of course the large dollar stablecoins like USDT and USDC, all the G7 currencies like a Japanese yen or a Swiss franc or British pound, but we also power a bit more exotic currencies like, for example, a Philippine peso or a Colombian peso or a Ghanaian cedi or a Kenyan shilling and many other markets where there's no direct access to FX. The Mento functionality, these certain types of markets, already sit in widely used wallets. There's, for example, a wallet by Opera called MiniPay that also uses the Mento swapping function that basically allows users to swap between different stablecoins using these new type of markets that we are offering here. MiniPay already has more than 10 million users globally, so I think a global wallet like this is especially interesting to bring, in the end, FX markets to users. There's many other use cases for local currency stablecoins. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go really deep into them. It's just a very short talk. For example, microlending for me also a very interesting use case for local currency stablecoins. If you need a small loan on chain, you always have a preference to get that loan in local currency. When your revenues are in local currency, you as the entrepreneur don't want to bear the FX risk, and therefore microlending is another interesting use cases for local currency stablecoins. And in the end, if you then go from these swap between these different local currency stablecoins, you again engage in the FX market. That's it from me. I think I went like a minute or so over, but I tried to stay exactly in time. I hope it wasn't like too rushed. Thank you again so much for being here and for spending some time here at Stablecoin Summit. And thanks again for the team to organize it. See you.